Just coming off of a 2-game homestand, St. Thomas, UNO. Felt like we, did what we needed to do in both of those games to find a way to win. Had some really good moments. Also had some stretches where I feel like there's some things we can clean up. And then this week headed into a 1-game week. Played UND on Wednesday and don't have a Saturday game. So it's an important week for us to get really locked in on the one game that we have, and then be able to maybe get a little rest and recover and work on a few things later in the week.
Awesome. Koff, go ahead.
Coach, just one question for me today. Obviously, big week for Grace, 79 points, 2 games. But what were you most impressed with your team overall in those 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, even Grace's success offensively is largely in part due to the rest of our team being able to space the floor and make players think about having to or wanting to, whether or not they want to leave them and go help on Grace. So I think offensively our team is kind of understanding what we're trying to do, and probably the biggest thing that I'm pleased with is our progress defensively. It's still not perfect. It's not where we want it to be. But from possession to possession, it's much better execution, much better cohesiveness as a group than it was a couple of months ago.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Jay, go ahead.
Darren, when you're watching a performance like what Grace did, I mean, we talked afterwards, and you said, hey, we're just going to let her go because that's what we're being given. But to see her then go out and execute it, continue to do that to the point of 45 points, how special was that for you to just see a complete something like that?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great player, and she's really, really good around the rim with her feet. She's physical enough. She'll post up, just the versatility, her ability to have the vision to be able to see creases and openings that, maybe the average player don't necessarily recognize. It's impressive, and we've talked about it many times, but her motor is what sets her apart. And, I think Alex and I actually after the game were talking about how she, tends to get better and better as the game goes along. And that's very rare because most of the time, obviously, as fatigue sets in and things get uncomfortable, players can kind of, tend to struggle as that happens. But Grace, she just is able to thrive in that discomfort and find ways to continue to compete. There's a couple times I knew she was pretty tired, but she just keeps going, and just keeps competing possession after possession. So yeah. And the thing about Grace is, to be honest, she there were a few times after she missed layups, she was wanting to become a passer, and we were having to tell her like, hey, just keep attacking, just keep attacking the rim. And, she's so unselfish. She doesn't want to, do anything that's going to harm the success of the team. And if we were telling her, hey, you need to pass it, she would have been doing that, so she's locked in all the time on just doing whatever the team needs to help the team win.
Specifically, North Dakota, they've played some tight ones. They're down big at Omaha, worked their way back into that one, ended up losing by 5, won by 3 at Kansas City, got by Denver, but then they took Oral Roberts double overtime. What are you thinking of this matchup, and what's got your attention as you get ready for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're playing pretty well right now. I think they, sometimes it takes the course of the season, the early part of the year to kind of figure out who you are and what you're doing. And, I feel like they've made some adjustments and, like you said, obviously have some nice wins recently, and the double overtime game to ORU is very impressive. They play hard. They don't go away. They don't quit. They've got some good balance offensively in the sense of a couple kids that can shoot it pretty well, a couple pretty dynamic drivers. Obviously, they got a couple post players that can be a presence in the paint. So they're playing as well as I've seen them play.
Go ahead.
morning, Coach.
Morning.
Had a really good start to summit play. I know Grace has been kind of one of those main factors why it's been a great start, but outside of her, what have some of those other successful keys been to a good start to summit play?
Well, I think one of the things is our team's kind of bought into what we're trying to do defensively. I've been saying this all season long that you got to be able to defend and rebound and get stops later on in the game, especially when, it's coming down to a few possessions. And, we've been able to do that a lot better here in the last couple of weeks than maybe we did before the break. So, that's a big part of it. Another big part of it is we've got several people offensively who are going to hurt you if you leave them to go, bring doubles to Grace or try to run bodies at her. So obviously Alexi Hempy had a phenomenal week, last week. And this week everybody's kind of keyed on her a little bit more and tried not to give her those same opportunities. But, we've had lots of different players step up. Gabby Wilkie, Cassidy Carson, obviously Carly Duffney's a threat, Olivia Kiefer, so those kids are doing a great job of stretching the floor and making sure that they're keeping defenders honest.
And just the other one for me, kind of the opposite side of the spectrum, just what are some of those areas of improvements you want to see that you've identified through the first few games of conference play?
Well, I think overall it's been, like I said, defensively we've been a lot better, but I feel like there's been a few stretches, for example, in the UNO game, kind of that last 5 minutes of the second quarter into the start of the third quarter, we just weren't able to put together very many stops and made some mistakes defensively. So, we want to be able to limit those stretches and not give up a 15-0 run, and be able to limit that and cut that off. Maybe they go, a basket or two in a row, but then we've got to kind of find a way to get a stop and stop the bleeding, so to speak, and have a better defensive presence in those situations.
Thanks, Coach.
Ford, go ahead.
Coach, I was kind of curious. Obviously, I'm sure once you took this job, you kind of got a pretty quick handle on what you had with Grace. When you talked to her and started to compare, is there anything you've done differently in terms of maybe what she had previously with previous stats in terms of letting her run? What you've done in terms of how you let her run within the offense, play within your offense? Is there anything that you've done differently as opposed to maybe the way she played under the previous staff?
I don't necessarily know if it's different. I think, the biggest thing is we always try to allow our players to play within their strengths. And I think Grace is doing that right now. And, I think with Grace, she's been able to keep it really simple, and she's gotten really good at a few reads that have allowed her to really execute at a high level. She's turning the ball over a lot less than she was in previous years. She's just making really good decisions, really good reads. She's leading the conference in assists. So she's finding, players when they're open and allowing them opportunities to hit open shots.
I guess the final question for me, the obvious one, from the scoring standpoint of it, I'm sure she probably just kind of wants to empty the tank at this point because it's her final year, but, and you do have plenty of depth, but do you kind of have to tell her to hold back a little bit, or you kind of have to tell her, well, we do got to save it a little bit for obviously once you get to March, because I don't know how anybody can keep this kind of pace up where you're scoring 35, 40 some a night and make it to March at this point.
Well, the more you get to know Grace, the more you learn that she's all gas and no brakes. So I could maybe try to tell her to slow it down or try to pace herself, but she only knows one thing, and that's to play as hard as she possibly can on every single possession. And, there's been a few times where we've tried to pull the reins back on various things, and, she's just, that's how she plays, and it's what's made her great. It's what separates her, and so we got to be careful about not taking that away from her.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.